Okay, all right. Well, with no edits to the meeting minutes, then the meeting minutes are approved. So we're doing good job staying on time. So the first thing on our agenda today is the president's report. I believe.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I really like this in-person meeting, even though I realize a lot of people are online. It's such a nice experience to be here in the student union and see some faces in person and not on little Zoom screens. But I also, as I was walking over here, realizing just how convenient it can be to do these meetings remotely. So, anyway, I enjoyed the walk over, but some of you have a much longer walk than the one I had. So at least it's fall. It's a beautiful day. And the campus is pretty much alive. It's just amazing how much activity is going on. So I guess the first thing you need to know, and you probably have already looked. I mean, I was putting my life in danger, actually trying to check my phone to see if there was any breaking news about whether the government is actually going to shut down tonight. But I see no news that would indicate that we're going to avoid the closure. That seems inevitable. And I think the first one, as I understand it, the first one in about 7 years. We do have experience dealing with that, but I did want to point you in the direction of the fact that our Office of the Vice President, our team working together with Hangame and Ellen, did send over guidance yesterday to all the faculty. So I believe that was received in faculty's inboxes probably mid-afternoon yesterday or something like that. And so there's a lot of information there. I was looking at the memo itself. I'm so grateful to these two leaders for the ways in which they have kept our faculty informed. But, there's also clearly a lot of uncertainty. And so there's some good guidance there. And I just, direct you in that way. And we'll see where this particular hiccup in the governance of our country leads our institution. I can assure you, though, that when we know about it, you'll know about it. So please know that that's what we'll do. We do have a few big stories that I thought I'd share. I've done this in several public venues, so I suspect I won't be telling you too much you don't already know. But it's pretty clear our enrollment is up. You can kind of see it just walking around campus. It's the fourth straight year that we've seen increases in total enrollment. It's our first year student registrations hit a record high, and that's for 6 years in a row that we've been experiencing that growth. Our first year class is the largest in UNM history. So last year was a record where we just keep breaking records, and each year it's like, well, it's going to level off, and it hasn't happened yet. I think also encouraging for us is that our student persistence is creeping up as well. It continues to strengthen. Third semester retention is now at 75.56%. And I think that there are many efforts going on campus to try to improve our student retention, because we know our students, they are actually better off graduating with that degree rather than stopping out. There's some transfer someplace else and finish, which I'm all for. I just want our students to finish those important credentials. But I also recognize and want to clearly acknowledge the role our faculty play in the success of our students. So thank you for what you're doing to help our students persist in college and eventually graduate. I'll say something I said yesterday at University House yesterday afternoon. We had a celebration of our faculty who've been promoted. And it's an annual event to just recognize the milestone in people's careers that a promotion reflects for them. And I just mentioned the real importance of our faculty in all of these things. I mean, I think it was a wonderful event. We got to celebrate the promotion and also distinguished research professors, the creative, I forget the name of that particular award.
Research and creative leadership.
Research and creative leadership. So it was a real pleasure to celebrate the faculty, but you know, I just want to acknowledge the role of faculty in all of this and tried to make it clear how important I think that is. UNM Gives begins tomorrow, October 1st. It continues our nearly 30-year partnership with the United Way of North Central New Mexico. It runs through November 30th, and it reflects our commitment at UNM to service, supporting programs that advance education, health, financial stability, and basic needs across 5 counties. So signature activities include the Salsa Showdown on October 16th. I don't know if any of you have ever shown up for the Salsa Showdown. It's usually in the sub on the bottom floor. Some of the best salsa recipes get turned in and cooked, and then people get little bags with chips and all the salsas, and they vote on them. And so it's kind of fun to find out what kind of recipes. And the person that wins actually gets free parking for a year. So there's a pretty big benefit to participation in this. There's also the Change for Change Department Challenge. So we've got departments that are actually got little jars for change out, and they're competing to see who's going to win the Saggio's free Saggio's pizza that we deliver to the 2 winners each year. And I do that every year. So I haven't been to your department yet. Maybe, you know, more change. You can get those Saggio's pizzas. They always provide them for us free. It's really been a wonderful tradition. I actually got to participate in it even before I started as president. And I believe it was January or February of 2018. So on probably a much more serious note, the critical care tower is nearly open. We did the ribbon cutting. I'm not sure who in the room might have been there for this, but this is a milestone in UNM's history. It is the largest expansion of UNM's clinical delivery system in 15 years. And it will immediately transform the way in which we deliver healthcare in New Mexico. It features 68 new emergency beds, 96 intensive care beds, 18 operating rooms, 2 helicopter pads, and truly some of the most advanced medical technology. It has 2 floors that are just shelled in at this point. So sometime back, we made the decision to go ahead and add those 2 floors so that we could expand much more easily as we really needed to. I think more than 1,000 people have been hired to start filling that critical care tower. And, you know, I think that, you know, it's pretty incredible to see that building if you haven't been inside. They're supposed to take in their first patient at 5 a.m. on Sunday morning, October 5th. I initially thought we should have some kind of celebration. And I was sitting next to the speaker, our New Mexico Speaker of the House, Javier Martinez, at the ribbon cutting, and he had the same idea I did. And so let me tell you what they told me. If this is the first patient for this critical care tower, of course you would have some kind of celebration. Well, not at 5 in the morning, when the first patient is likely to be someone dealing with some kind of trauma. So it's not like they're going to celebrate that first patient, except to be glad that they're coming into this tower to be treated for whatever it might be. So I kind of nixed that idea because the idea was nixed for me when I realized, okay, think about what really happens here. But it is a reminder of the role that our health system plays. And I think we can all be very proud of the direction that the system is going. So I guess you're already watching another big project on campus, the CCAP facility. I mean, every time I drive past there or walk past there, which is more likely walking past there, it is really seeing some structure. Of course, if you walked here on Smith Plaza, you're listening to the sound of a destruction of a humanities facility. And that humanities and social sciences facility, of course, is an $87.6 million investment in teaching, research, and gathering spaces. I was in a meeting yesterday to hear a little bit about some initial planning. I mean, I know that the faculty who are involved with this know a great deal and have been very involved in what this space could look like. But it's remarkable for me to sit there and see what some of the planning is. I'm really excited about the plans for the gathering spaces. It'll be a very different environment than the current facility. So construction is supposed to begin in 2026. The expectation is that we'd hold our first classes in the new facility, I think, in 2028. So these things take a long time. It's just what they are, but they're moving quickly because they have to spend the money. So there always are time crunches associated with these facilities. Now, some of you probably didn't pay attention, but I do want to say we had a big win on Saturday. Maybe not for the, maybe it was a little tough getting in to the stadium. We've got some kinks to work out, but it was a pretty exciting win for the people that decided to watch UNM play New Mexico State in football. We beat the Aggies 38-20. They created something to share. The winning team, I think New Mexico State and UNM created a chili roaster, and the winner of the team got to keep the chili roaster. I heard in advance that New Mexico State intended to roast their chilies right in front of our UNM people if they got it, but they didn't, and we didn't do that. But it's a great new rival trophy, and I'm really pleased to see the kind of cooperation that led to the creation of it. I'm happy for Coach Eck, happy for the athletic director. So a 3-1 season, it's a lot of alumni, a lot of friends of UNM that are pretty happy. We've seen some really big research grants already this semester. So I want to
No, ma'am.
I'll talk over that. So $25 million from the New Mexico Economic Development Department to create a cutting-edge quantum venture studio in partnership with Roadrunner Venture Studios. $43.6 million from NIH for a research partnership with the University of Arizona to create the Southwest Center for Advancing Clinical and Translational Innovation. It's SW space cacti. So that's what they're calling it. And over the next 7 years, this collaboration will accelerate medical discoveries, expand clinical trials, and it will strengthen healthcare for communities across Arizona, New Mexico, and the Navajo Nation. So this is, a lot of work went into this. I was really glad we decided to partner with the University of Arizona. And I think it really strengthened the proposal, and what great excitement to get it. $4 million from the National Science Foundation to design a photonic quantum computer. $12.9 million from the National Cancer Institute to lead a multi-university study on preventing and treating endometrial cancer, which I understand is now more common than ovarian cancer. So that's a remarkable change that I wasn't aware of until I heard about this particular grant. $1.56 million from the National Cancer Institute, and hopefully I'll pronounce this correctly, the Schwabel Lab. Is that correct? To develop groundbreaking X-ray system that could transform the detection of breast cancer. And Lobo Political Science Assistant Professor Sarah Schreiber was selected as a co-principal investigator in a landmark $152 million National Science Foundation and NVIDIA funded initiative led by the Allen Institute for Artificial Intelligence. And in partnership with a lot of top universities, Dr. Dreyer will co-lead the data curation and help build an open, transparent AI ecosystem. We're all kind of interested to see where this goes. And then $7 million from NSF, the EPSCoR grant, to our ARID Institute to launch forest research for New Mexico water and carbon management. That's a great project. Well, there are more. There's more I could say, but I just want to acknowledge that our faculty are doing incredible things and spending a great deal of time in an uncertain environment. Yet a lot of these obviously predate kind of the upheaval that's happened on the research side, but it's remarkable how well our faculty are doing and the kind of funding they've been able to keep for. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that supports the research mission of this university. The expertise that you bring is it's just a remarkable thing. So applications are open for the expanded faculty leadership program, which will be launching in 2026. This is a program that provides mentoring, support, and pathways to strengthen research and academic leadership while advancing UNM's mission. The applications are due Thursday, October 16th, with selections announced in mid-November. And so our Office of the Vice President for Research has all the information about this. And then finally, the only other thing I thought I would mention, so I'm not touching on everything that I know is on your minds, because I realize that there are many things on the minds of faculty today and these days. But I know one of the items that was brought up has to do with campus safety. And I did make a presentation to the Board of Regents about some of the major improvements we've made that not everybody's aware of. And that includes upgraded emergency phones, expanded outdoor lighting, new security fencing, broader use of key card access. We also I outlined some upcoming training and communication initiatives and talked about some continued investments in areas surrounding the campus. So I want to assure you we are committed to continuing to try to build an even safer environment. We've been listening to feedback from students and faculty and staff. We'll continue to do that. And I know that later for this meeting, you'll be hearing from Teresa Costandinides, who has been an awful lot of this work is overseen out of facilities, in facilities and out of finance administration, working in conjunction with our health sciences folks. And she'll give, we had a presentation to a group of leaders that I'm grateful that we're bringing to the Faculty Senate today. So you'll have lots of opportunities to get more information, more detail, and we'll be interested in whatever feedback you might want to offer to us. So with that, I will stop my report and I'm happy to answer questions.
Ooh, I have the most important question.
Okay.
Today.
Yes.
So in Change for Change, I want to know if you counted change by volume, by weight, or by total dollars.
When I have delivered the pizza to the departments on Central Campus and North Campus, it was a measurement of dollar amount. So I don't recall there being a scale on which we actually weighed who put in the heaviest coins. So, but you're right. That's an important metric. Anyone else? Yes. Chris.
Provost Stokes, thank you.
I remember when I used to be called that. It was a wonderful title.
President Stokes,
Yes, ma'am.
thank you for being here. First, congratulations on your retirement.
Thank you.
This is where my slip comes from. I and colleagues I talked to are feeling some anxiety about the upcoming leadership vacuum. So I wanted to know if you could share with us what you know about the presidential search and the provost search. Or, a permanent position for the provost. Timeline, what the search process looks like, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you mind if I also say a little bit about the fact that I'm retiring?
I do not mind, and I also want to apologize to Provost Rodriguez for my slip. But please,
She's enjoying it. I looked at her face. She's okay.
I work in her office.
Well, that's why provost is on the tip of your tongue all the time. All right, well, yes, I did. Thank you for that. I did announce my decision to retire, and I tried to do that with sufficient time, plenty of time for the university to actually conduct a good search. And I had, so first, let me say, I have had a few people say to me, "You are retiring, right? You're not going someplace else." So I want to clarify for you. I am absolutely retiring. I am. I am going to be 70 in December, and my husband is 78. He'll be 79 when I retire. And I never wanted to be somebody that worked too long. I really have a strong desire to have the life with my husband and hope that you never know what the future holds. I'm hoping I haven't waited too long, but I really, really am going to retire. And many people didn't believe it when I came here. And I said, this is my last job. I'm not going anywhere. I never looked anyplace else. So this is the place I wanted to be. And I am thrilled that I have been here. And by the time I retire officially on the 2nd of July, I will have been here 8 years and a little over 4 months, which will make me the 3rd longest serving president in the university's history. Now, Peck was right at 8 years, so it's just 4 months more. But anyway, so that's my spiel about retirement. But yes, there is no question that there's got to be a level of anxiety about the transition. All transitions, create that. And, I can tell you that I spent time talking with the board and with the board chair, especially the board chair, about the importance of a really effective search, about the importance of engagement with our internal and external communities. I am also speaking to the board chair after I leave the faculty senate meeting to talk about the search. So I may find out a little more, but here's what I believe to be true. I believe that the board chair is working to figure out the composition of the search committee. And he's working to figure out the search firm. So there will definitely be the use of a search firm for the presidential search. I think that his hope, but again, I confirmed this with them, but this is what I understand to be true. I think his hope is that the board will support the creation of the search committee and the hiring of the search firm basically at the October Regents meeting. And I would expect in that vicinity around that time, we would see potentially a search launched. Now, what I don't know is, whether there will be any people that are asked to serve on the search committee in advance of the board approving who might be on that search committee. I do know that there is a preference for a somewhat smaller search committee than you sometimes see in presidential searches. I don't remember how many people were on the search committee when I was hired. It was gigantic. It included members of the legislature. I think there might be a desire to go in a somewhat different direction, but I don't really know for sure. At this point, I just know there's a desire for something smaller than the 24 people that might have served before. So I think they're going to be very carefully considering who will be on that search. My hope is that they will actually do this search. There'll be lots of listening sessions with the search firm, and they will get the search completed with someone announced by April, with the hope that the person can start effectively on July 2nd. My contract includes a provision that I could be extended. And, it's possible that I would end up needing to stay just a little bit longer if the start, we'll have to see. Who knows? I'm speculating at this point, but I wanted you to be aware that that provision is in there for up to a year. I have no intention of letting them do that. I just know that searches can get a little bit delayed. So I'm going to be pushing for them to get this done on this timeline. so that everybody really knows who the president is next, by late spring. And it's during a period of time when the faculty have lots of opportunities to be engaged in the process. So it's not something that's finished over summer or something. Now, you asked about the provost search, and that's been a real challenge in my mind, just because I know how important it is to a president to be able to be involved in deciding who their provost is going to be. And so I have been contemplating what this process might look like. I don't have a timeline worked out yet, but what I'm looking at as possible is that we would actually get a provost search started, and that we would not complete that search until the new president has the opportunity to actually be the one who makes the decision about the new provost. I've been a provost. I've been a provost through president's transitions. Some of you might have heard from James Holloway about his experience becoming president at Toledo. I remember that he was kind of like, what are they doing at Toledo? They were simultaneously doing the provost and the president search. And it was a much more complicated situation there, to be honest, but he thought this is a little bit crazy. But in the end, he got to actually interview the finalists and make the decision about who the provost was. And his response after the fact was to say, that worked pretty well. I don't have to walk into my job and do a search, because search processes take a lot out of you. So, this isn't final that we would go in this direction. I would certainly talk to the board about it. And certainly I'm going to take feedback from anyone who has thoughts about, how you manage transition that happens at this time. I will also say that I am absolutely thrilled to be working with Barbara Rodriguez. She is a fantastic leader. And so, I think we're going to do some great things together over this next year. I guess I've only got 9 months. So anyway.
Can I ask
Yes.
a follow-up question?
Yes.
And I don't know if this is a question for you, President Stokes, or for you, Provost Rodriguez. But President Stokes, you talked about how there's an extension in your contract in order to cover the time.
It could be used for purpose. It doesn't have to be.
So is there a similar, if Provost Rodriguez, I guess maybe you would, I don't know if you would have a chance to say yes or no about this, but would the provost's contract also be extended until we identified who the permanent provost is going to be?
That, of course, it would require the, unless, I don't want to speak for Barbara.
Sure. Well, yes, that's why
let me answer.
Yeah.
I would certainly expect that. Absolutely expect that. But I think that, that is something that gets figured out when it has to be figured out.
Sorry, Provost Rodriguez, to be talking about it.
Sorry. I've been in Barbara's shoes before. I know.
Yeah.
We do have 2 comments in the chat.
Oh, we do?
One of them is from Liz Hutchinson.
Oh,
who
Liz.
says, bravo, President Stokes. And the other one is from the Shellhead, who says, congratulations, President Stokes. Thank you for 8.5 years. Wonderful years.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any other hard questions? Any other easy questions? All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate y'all. All right.
Okay, next up is the provost report. And I think you have slides.
Yes. So good afternoon. My name is Barbara Rodriguez. I am the interim provost and executive vice president for academic affairs. I know some of you, but not all of you, and I want to express my sincere honor and privilege that I have been extended to serve in this role for whatever period of time is necessary to guide the institution's academic mission. I have been at this university for a really long time. I've been on the faculty since 1999. I'm a professor of speech and hearing sciences. I moved through the faculty ranks. I was a clinic director in my home department. I was program director. I was department chair. Then in 2018, I took a leap of faith and moved into the provost's office as interim senior vice provost. So I've been interim before. So I know what this feels like and I know what it means. Then when Provost Holloway arrived, he appointed me non-interim senior vice provost, and I worked alongside him right up until he left to take on the leadership role at the University of Toledo. So I've grown up at this institution and I've gotten old at this institution, and it's an institution that is very near and dear to me. I grew up in Espanola, New Mexico, one of 8 children. And it is because of this institution that the trajectory of my family's lives changed. It's because of the opportunities that this institution gave me. It's because of the faculty who supported me as an undergrad here and as a master's student here that really the path of my life changed. Because it could have gone in a very different direction. And when I think back on my career, it's because of the faculty and the staff of this institution that helped me become what I like to say, a successful faculty member at this institution, serving the state of New Mexico by examining issues that are critical to our state. The work that I did in my research is looking at bilingual language acquisition in young children to ensure that we are identifying children accurately and putting them in educational programs that fit their needs and not placing them in special education because they are simply bilingual. So enough about me, onto the report itself. I'm going to update you. President Stokes and I were thinking very similarly in some of the important updates that we wanted to share with you today. And what I will briefly review are some of the leadership changes, the new directors that are on our campus. I'm going to talk about faculty hiring, our student enrollment and retention, and some funds, one-time funds that are available to our schools and colleges. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. Tell you about programs of interest, our academic affairs visit. My team from academic affairs has visited every school and college on the central campus. Today, we finished our last visit. We're at the School of Engineering. I have also visited 2 of the 4 branch campuses. And the goal underlying these visits is to really identify some things that we can get done that are meaningful from today through the end of June when new leadership arrives. Then I'll talk briefly about where we are with our colleagues at UAUNM. All right, so we have 2 new deans on board. Many of you probably already know this, but in case you don't, on Central Campus, we have 2 new deans in 2 colleges. We have Naomi Yevne Claus in the Honors College, and we have Mark Emmons, who has been a faculty member at UNM for as long as I have, believe it or not. We share our stories of way back then, as we like to say. He has been at UNM for many years, and he is the Dean of the College of University Libraries and Learning Sciences. Dean Leo Lowe went on to the University of Virginia just in September. We also have leaders in research centers. We have the new director of our ERIG Center, Ann Kinzinger. She began her role on September 15th, and we also welcome Bob Ledoux, who is the director of the QNMI, the Quantum New Mexico Institute. He's been with us for a couple of months now. And then, as you all know, Chris Elder has taken on the important role of working directly with me as a special advisor to me, the interim provost on labor relations. You have had the pleasure of working with Chris in her role as Faculty Senate President. And in my observations of how she navigated that role, I sat down with Chris and I said, you know, you advocate for faculty in the right ways, in the right places, asking the right questions. Would you be interested in coming and working with me while I'm in the provost role? And I've been very fortunate that she said yes. Rebecca Sanchez, some of you may know her. She was an associate dean in the College of Education and Human Sciences. I've also had my eye out on her. I keep an eye on faculty on campus, and I see the rising leaders across campus, and she was one that I absolutely had my eye on and asked her to come support me as I temporarily stepped out of that senior vice provost role. I needed the support of Chris Elder and Rebecca Sanchez to get the work done. So I appreciate both of these two fabulous leaders to join my team. Then just in September, we welcomed Erin Shortledge. She is the new director for the Center of Teaching and Learning. And by all accounts, she is doing an amazing job. So we are very fortunate to have recruited her from Portland State University. Our newest leader we welcomed on September 8th. We have Laura Franklin, who is the director of the Accessibility Resource Center. She's done this work before in Iowa and Arizona, and most recently at the University of Wisconsin-Platteville. All right, faculty hiring. It's always it brings me great joy when we have the new faculty orientation every fall. Because as senior vice provost, I got to sign on behalf of James Holloway all the offer letters. And I knew these names. It's like I knew who they were. And so when I go to the new faculty reception, it's like, oh, I'm happy to meet you. I got to support you through the hiring process. And what we did over the last academic year, we worked very, very hard. A lot of faculty search committees working hard to bring 73 new faculty to Central and Branch campuses. This is the total for Central and Branch. And you can take a look at the various faculty ranks. I'm very pleased with that number. While other institutions are freezing hiring, we plugged ahead in very mindful way. In the same way, well, here's the distribution on the next slide is the distribution of where our new faculty are working. The lion's share in arts and sciences, which makes sense given the size of the college. And then when you combine all of the branch campuses together, they also have a sizable number of new faculty joining the ranks there. So for this year, on the next slide, you'll see that we received in academic affairs, this is Central Campus and Branch campuses, we received from the schools and colleges a total of 111 faculty hiring requests, which is impressive. We were very fortunate to be able to approve 99 of those. Incredible. It's important to know that only 10 of these 99 are new ING funding. The rest of these are available as a result of retirements, resignations, holding off on some faculty hiring to see how things might settle down in particular units. And it all came together midsummer, I would say, where we sat down and took a very careful look at the strategic plans of all of the schools and colleges, and then mapped that onto their faculty hiring requests. So if you haven't been recruited to participate in a faculty search committee, you most likely will be asked to do so, because there's a lot of faculty hiring going on. And we're really, really pleased about the opportunity to bring new colleagues to the University of New Mexico. So that's pretty incredible. President Stokes touched on our amazing enrollment momentum. We have 3,800 new first-year students on campus. I want to focus on retention. And President Stokes, your number and my number is slightly different when we look at the fall 23 cohort. I'm probably off by 0.2%. But I want to, in the same way that President Stokes did, really thank the faculty for the amazing hard work that you put into supporting our teaching assistants in the classrooms and the work that you do in the classrooms to retain our students at the University of New Mexico. We have made great progress. We have some more work to do. There is a pot of funds that the University of New Mexico, because of our great work around retention, we have been allocated $2.5 million from the state of New Mexico. These are what we refer to as the GROW funds. These are Government Results Opportunity Expendable Trust. This is a retention initiative. So $2.5 million arrives to the University of New Mexico. Yay. And at the same time, we had tons of sections of math and all of those general education classes that we had to support. So these funds are one-time funds. We took some of these funds and we said, University College, we understand you have additional sections that you need to open. Here's some money to hire faculty to get those students enrolled in those important classes. Same with the College of Arts and Sciences. Here's a pot of one-time money to fill the needs that our students have. We have $1.2 million left. These funds have to be expended by the end of this fiscal year, so by June 30th. What we decided to do is send out a call for proposals to all of the schools and colleges, asking the deans to come together and figure out within their unit what they could do to further support student retention efforts. We said we don't want proposals that are less than $30,000, and we don't want proposals that are more than $300,000, quite a range. We want to see unique initiatives that will further enhance the great work that we're already doing. Those proposals are due today. So I'm really looking forward to learning about what our leaders are seeking to do with support from these one-time funds. They have to have initiatives that are shovel ready, they're ready to go, and they can get the work done by the end of June, as these funds do expire at that point. If we don't spend them, they go back to the state, and not on my watch. We're going to spend them, and we're going to do great things. So President Stokes noted the expanded LIFT program. This is a combined effort this time with the Vice President for Research and Academic Affairs. We note that we need to continue to support our faculty in leadership development. And we are partnering with the research administration side of this program to further develop our leaders on campus. Applications are due, as President Stokes mentioned, October 16th. I really encourage you to think about this program, share this program with your colleagues, with your departments, with your schools, colleges. I think we have great promise here. The next program of note that I'd like to call your attention to is also something that's happening October 16th, online and then in person on October 17th, the Art and Science of Data, From Numbers to Narratives. This is a program that is sponsored by the Office of Institutional Analytics and the Office of Assessment and Academic Program Review. This is open to faculty, staff, and students how to use data to inform decision-making and advance student success. The next program is a program that I'm also really proud of. Last year, Ernesto Longa and I pulled our resources together and co-sponsored a Know Your Rights workshop. This year, we have co-sponsorship not only with UA-UNM and Academic Affairs, but with GPSA. So we have members of our community who are very concerned about immigration changes, their rights, travel considerations, permanent status. We have attorneys, Rappi and Weeks, who will be here on the 14th at 5:30 in the sub ballroom A, who will answer all of the questions that members of our community have. So please share this word with your colleagues. We want to make sure that we share what we know with our colleagues. I mentioned that we hit the road. I appreciated the fact that the leadership team in the provost's office were willing to go along with me as we went from school to school, college to college. The deans will be hearing from my team as to what we heard. There are absolutely consistent themes across schools and colleges. And I'm sure it's not a surprise to you that one of the number one things that we heard was with respect to resources. So we'll be talking more about what all we learned as we continue to finalize our conversation, which will happen tomorrow. Finally, I want to share with you that we're continuing to work with UAUNM. I've been working with, in my role as Senior Vice Provost, from the day that the cards were signed and the petition was formalized, and Satya and Chris and I have been partners at the table, sometimes on the same side of the table, sometimes on the other side of the table, but still collegial, respectful, and seeking to solve problems. And we initiated the process. Our current contract expired a year ago. Now there's an evergreen clause, which means that until you come to an agreement on the successor contract, that everything stays the same that's in the current contract. So we initiated these conversations. I look back on my calendar, Satya, and it was in November of 2024. We recognize that we have a lot of work to do, and in the midst of all of this work that we were doing, we also knew that faculty compensation was hanging in the balance. And Provost Holloway and I knew that it was the wrong thing to do. The wrong thing to do was to withhold the compensation increase. So we agreed to an MOU with UAUNM to get those compensation increases out in a timely manner. The conversations are continuing with UAUNM. I will say that I understand what some of the key issues are, and I'm working with my team to ensure that we prepare responses to UAUNM that address some of the key concerns that in my heart of hearts and my brain of brains and my soul of soul that I know are key points for supporting our faculty, both continuing and temporary faculty on our central and branch campuses. So I'm looking forward to finishing up that work and doing so in a way that we do the right thing. And that is the end of my report. I'll take a few questions, not hard ones, but I'll take them. Yes.
Hi, I'm Tracy Lassiter. I'm with the Gallup
Tracy,
Branch. How are you?
yes. Good to see you.
Nice to meet you. I've emailed you, but we've not yet had a chance to speak in person. So
That's
I'm
right.
glad to have this chance finally. And of course, then my questions pertain to the branches. When you mentioned the ideas for the retention of the students, one of the questions that came up in our previous faculty senate breakout sessions was the retention of our students who transfer, especially our Native American students who sometimes get lost.
Mhm.
They come from a very small campus to a campus of tens of thousands. And we do our darndest to make sure they are college ready by the time they come here. But yet there is a component of cultural inclusion and other support, you know, a lot of handholding, a lot of academic support, a lot of adjustment. And so I know that there are resources here on campus to help those students, but at the same time, we don't really see the numbers to know how many of them stay, how many of them persist and graduate. So I wanted to see, well, it's still September 30th.
That it is. That it is.
Is there a consideration somewhere in one of those proposals to focus on the transition students, the ones who transfer and who might need that additional support when they get here? That would go a long way to not only bolstering retention, but adding to that student success component, adding to those graduation rates that Dr. Stokes mentioned a little while ago. We want to make sure when they get here, they're able to cross that finish line. And then the other question I had was regarding that lift opportunity. Is that something the branch faculty would be able to participate in, or is that only Albuquerque campus?
As I understand it, it's Albuquerque campus, but I'll double check for you and I'll get back to you. And I'll send the response to Nancy so that we can get it out to the entire group. My understanding is that it's Albuquerque campus, but I will double check. With respect to your first question, I couldn't agree with you more that we need to be really mindful of the transfer student population. Having grown up in Espanola and coming here, I face similar challenges, not exactly the same, but my hometown was 10,000 people and I come here and it's 22,000. So simply the size alone can be overwhelming for us. We have a new transfer center that is designed just for that, to help support our transfer students. That doesn't speak to the core of your question, that is the data. So I will take the question back to my team and see how we can pull that data apart so that you can understand the fruits of your labor as we see the students moving from Gallup, Valencia County, Taos, Los Alamos to the Albuquerque campus, and how successful they are in their transition here. So I'll make sure that I go back and have the team take a look at that data. But Pamela Cheek has been incredible in her work around student success. And part of what she did in the last academic year was lead the effort to create the transfer center that it is in the UAEC building that is designed just for what you described. It doesn't take the however million that are out there for proposals. It takes what is happening around the table in the provost's office. And the reason I say that is because one of our plans is to identify a resource map that we have resources all over this place. We have incredible resources. What's not so easy is to find them. And it's not easy when you come from a smaller campus to know how and where to connect. So we're talking about strategies to make things clearer for our transfer students and for our first year students who come to us from many different places. So great questions. Thank you.
And if there is anything more that we should be doing on our end to help them prepare for that
Sure.
transition, I would love to know that. Like I've participated in the student experience project, things like that. That feels like an important step, but I'm not sure it's enough. So I just want to make sure both sides are doing everything they can. So
I appreciate that. I appreciate I'm always so impressed with our branch campus colleagues. My visits to the branch campuses have been delightful. I've learned a lot. I know how committed our faculty are there. And I know how our communities depend on those institutions to support their students to make the decision to come to the four-year institution, to help support them in making that decision. But it would be nice, and the data will tell us. The data will help us understand where are some of the gaps and how can we support the branch campuses to lift up and fill in those gaps. So excellent point, and I'll take a look at that.
thanks so much.
Thank you.
One more?
Okay, sorry, Natalie Dolphy, School of Medicine, Department of Biochemistry. I also had a quick question about the LIFT program, which is it available to HSC faculty?
I'll take that back. We have some interest from branch campus and health science faculty, which is terrific. So I'll take it back to the team. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
All right. So a couple of things for us. Yeah. Might want to go back to the beginning.
Yep. Headed back to the beginning.
But I'm going to go ahead and start. Anyway, so I wanted to thank everybody that came out for the safety walks with us on our list of topics for breakout groups. It was our #1 topic. So it's really important for us, if we say it's our big topic, to show up be seen and be heard. So keep going, get to,
Sorry,
go down a couple.
I think we can now. I don't know if that's working. I'll just hit it.
It's okay, go ahead. Hit the next one. Well, that's not.
Oh, here. Oh, here. I'm just gonna go here. There we go.
Now, there we go. Next, go ahead to the next.
Okay.
All right, so there is a new policy update that everyone needs to take a look at. This came out for faculty comment. It is the new faculty handbook policy, and it formalizes the UNM's responsibility to comply with U.S. export control regulations. I know this sounds like, what do I care? Well, it's required by federal research compliance. It replaces President Stokes' memo from 2018. And it is available now for comment. So if you really wanted to get down to the important reasons why it's important, it's a felony, it's a crime to violate it, and it comes with jail time and fines. And they can hold everybody on the team responsible. So there are very few things we can mess up so bad at faculty that we can get arrested, go to jail, and pay a fine. And we don't make enough money to pay fines. So really, we need to take a look. Go to the next slide. So you need to take a look at the policy. Most of the U.S. research isn't subject to export controls, but some of it is. So we need to look at the things that are. So if you're doing research with DOD or Department of Energy or places like that, anything that's considered sensitive, or a piece of things that are considered sensitive, then you want to pay attention to this policy. So there was a QR code in there to look at in the comment. So I highly recommend that everybody do. Next slide. So feedback does matter. The comment periods are a chance to have input on the policies. The policies may return to the Senate or the full faculty for approval. And so one of our examples that's coming up is the parental leave policy. Next slide. So most of our appointments for committees are filled. Thank you all for the people that helped recruit people. We still have a few vacancies for specific departments that we had a hard time getting people for. Basically, if your committee has not had its first meeting yet, reach out to me and Teresa, and we will try to help you get your first meeting set up. If you haven't elected a chair already, you should. And because some of the work needs to begin right away. Next slide. We're going to, at the end of the day today, talk more about the breakout groups. You have a copy of what the top priorities were on each table. And I emailed them out. Unfortunately, I emailed them to me. Thank you for catching Nancy that I emailed them to myself, not to everybody. And then the last slide is a couple of closing comments for you. One, thank you for your engagement in Faculty Senate and for your service. Our strength really does come from showing up and from our voices. And I'm going to turn the last few minutes over to Chris for something she needs to do. And also, while she's coming up here, totally unprepared for this, we want to say thank you to Chris. We got you, yes. I will tell you, we did get it in the wrong color. So even though we're giving this to you, they're going to send us a red one. And so we'll get this one back from you, and then we'll get you a pretty
I can't have both. I can't hang them both.
What you can say. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's so sweet. And it'll be unbelievable in red.
Yes.
The funny thing about this is right now my office in schools has
no books on the bookshelf and nothing on the walls, so this is perfect. Thank you.
Let me get that out of your way.
So thank you, Roberta, for giving me just a couple of minutes to talk to you all about this initiative. Late spring 2025, Vice President Dr. Asata Zarai reached out to me. As you know, she leads the formerly known as the Division of Equity and Inclusion, and now known as the, sorry, I've got the DSAID, Division, help me out, Nair,
Division for Change and Empowerment.
which I think is a bitchin' name. Anything. Right here in my notes. And when Dr. Zarai reached out to me, what she's looking to do is, and this is something she would like to run by the faculty senate. It won't just be senators though working on this. So I'm asking if there's anybody in this room or online or any other senators who want to help with this, in addition to other colleagues. We are looking at departmental statement guidelines for institutional units. What that means is, there's an example from the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, that their faculty senate passed. And these departmental statement guidelines basically provide recommendations on how institutional units express their ideas about what would be deemed controversial topics external to the institution. I'll give you an example. Let's say the English department, which Nair and I are colleagues in. By the way, I want to give Nair a shout out because Nair is the new special advisor to Vice President. Yeah, but I wanted to make sure it wasn't like I wasn't messing up the title. Okay, Vice President, I'm right here in my notes. Vice President, I just looked at my notes. Vice President Zarai. So I'm really excited for Nair, and I'm really excited for the university that we have Nair in that position. So please reach out to Nair. I hope you don't mind my saying other things. But yeah, please give her really important work. So an example of a departmental statement might be something that says, expresses opposition to ICE, right? What the guidelines would help to do is ask a department, for example, like the English department, how we might relate that to internal workings of the institution to show the ways that it related to our teaching or our research, that it was directly related, right? So rather than having an anti-ICE statement on a department website that would then possibly be construed as representing the university, representing the College of Arts and Sciences, representing all faculty, students, and staff within the English department. What those guidelines would do is invite a revision that said something along the lines of, we in the Department of English support all students of no matter their documentation status, right? Something along those lines. So where the first version, people might not see the connection to the work we do. With the latter version, it's much clearer to see how that relates to the work that we do. So I just wanted to give you that example to give you an idea of what we would be doing. So we don't have to start from scratch. Urbana-Champaign has a really great model, but I would like anyone who would like to join me in crafting those guidelines for us at UNM. And again, that would go through a process. It would be evaluated by DSE. It would go through the Faculty Senate process for an endorsement. If the Faculty Senate did so, and part of that process would be deciding where would these guidelines live. So none of those decisions have been made. But that's a new project that we're working on. So I would hope, we have a range of people from campuses, from disciplines, from other positionalities that would be interested in participating in crafting those guidelines. So thank you.
I have a question in
Oh.
the chat. Says, is it possible to go look at the model? And that's from Angela.
Oh, yeah, sure. Shall I send?
I would just send it out
Back
to the
send?
Faculty Senate.
Okay, yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do that right now.
Thank you. All right, we need to approve the consent agenda. There are 2 items on the consent agenda, the curricular changes and the committee appointments. So there were new committee appointments. We've been trying to update the website. So can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? All right, all in favor? All right, anyone opposed? Did we have to get a little cute Cody thing? To put
No,
up
I
there?
think we're just going for hands
You're
here
liking
for the sake of time.
it? And I didn't see any opposed. What's
I think that was the old one there. That was the model, so that was on the last
Okay.
item. So
all right, so the consent agenda is approved. I think Eve is online.
there she is.
Okay, so the faculty handbook policy approval for policy C215 parental leave. Eve, did you want to? Can we hear her?
Yeah, she's no, actually.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Wonderful. So I'm happy to say a few words. Hello, everybody. I'm very sorry I can't be there. I'm in clinic. We're actually very excited to have approved this policy that we've been working on for, gosh, I want to say 1.5 to 2 years. Nancy will know better, but it's been a long time. We had made some good progress. We got, campus comment. And then it looked last session like the state might pass some legislation that would be relevant to parental leave, and we thought, it wouldn't make sense for us to make major changes to the policy at a time when it looked like there might be a state law that could supersede that or could affect the policy changes that we were going to make. So we did table that through the session. Unfortunately, parental leave did not pass through the session, I think for the 3rd or 4th time. So we took it up again. And I will say that I think the language has been updated. We've made some great, improvements to the actual leave policy, including that if there are faculty that are married or domestic partners and both are eligible, both employed by the university, it has been in the past that only one would be eligible or they would need to split the leave. And the new policy, it gives that benefit to, to both of those employed parents. There's also, I think, more specificity in how the chair is involved in working with the faculty to make sure that duties are covered while still very much encouraging people to take their parental leave. What occurred in the comment period, and I think what became the sticking point for the policy committee, was the issue around postdocs. And there was broad support for adding postdocs as recipients of parental leave. But the concern was the financial impact, how that benefit would be paid with grant money or where the funding would come from. And again, I think the then Provost Holloway and EVP Mike Richards were very much in support of extending the benefit to postdoc. There was an economic analysis that was done that showed that this was very unlikely to be costly, like very costly. And so the decision was made because that was, a concern for the funding, and it looked like administration would find another pathway to make sure that postdocs were covered, which our committee very strongly approved of. But with the caveat that they're not truly faculty. And so, administratively, that policy should be housed or located somewhere else outside of the faculty handbook. And so with the caveat that there appeared to be very strong senior leadership support for inclusion of postdocs, we approved the policy at our last meeting, but with the caveat that we would write a letter to senior leadership expressing our very strong support for parental leave for postdocs to occur through another administrative channel. So that is the backstory of the policy, and I would invite Nancy to give any other details. And I think we're open to any questions about where the policy stands.
We can answer questions. Sure, go ahead.
Can you comment on the eligibility for parental leave or terms of what's done?
Did you hear?
No, I didn't hear the question.
He wanted to know if you could comment on parental leave in terms of,
Eligibility.
Yeah, how long you have to be employed.
So it's faculty with professorial appointments, continuing non-tenure appointments, and renewable research appointments that have been employed at UNM at least one semester at 0.5 FTE or higher.
Questions? Were there any questions online?
Just out of curiosity, does that apply to the principal lecturer rank as well as professor or
Yes.
assistant?
Yes.
I had a quick question about the postdocs. So I guess the postdocs are neither staff nor faculty. Is that the issue?
Yes. Yes.
Oh. And they're not students, so they're none of the normal things.
There's this kind of crack they fall into, but there is a process ongoing to work on how to address that, correct? Yes. So the provost is nodding yes. There's a process ongoing to try to figure out how to address postdocs.
And I will say that as part of our passage in the policy committee, the policy committee asked that we write a letter to the provost and to the EVP expressing our very strong support and asking for a status update as soon as that's available. And we have written that letter.
And they've acknowledged receipt of it, and basically everybody has said yes, that this is something we'll move forward on working on. Other questions? So I think we need a motion. Okay, Natalie, did I have a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. All in favor, we're going to do a show of hands this time since we're in person and there's people online. So people online, if you can just raise your digital hands, that would be great. All in favor? Is somebody counting? Keep them up.
Okay, got it.
Got it? Okay, any opposed? We gotta let the digital hands go down first online. Lower your digital hands online. Okay, now if you're opposed, raise your digital hand. Or your real one. All right, the motion passes. Thank you very much. The next real quick thing, are there any public comments before we go on to the presentation on campus safety? Seeing none?
Roberta, I would like to tell them that now we go to President Stokes for signature.
Okay, did you hear that? The policy will now go to President Stokes for signature. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Teresa Costantides. I serve as the Executive Vice President for Finance Administration for UNM. Today's presentation is actually a presentation that I gave to the campus. You want to keep it back on?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Gave to the executive cabinet, President's executive cabinet a few weeks ago. And President Levin said she'd like me to come and give it to the Faculty Senate. So I'm very honored to do this. I tweaked just a couple slides because a few weeks have passed and we had a little more progress to report, but it's going to, in essence, be this report that we provided about campus safety following the tragic loss that our community experienced on July 25th, when a 14-year-old was killed in one of our residence halls. That loss really deeply affected our entire community and really reaffirmed the importance of campus safety and security. So I just want to say at the outset, we are deeply committed to do everything within our authority to keep this, to make safety stronger here at UNM for our students, our faculty, our families, staff, everyone, including the people of New Mexico. I want to put that out there. So now go to the next slide, please. I can do my own if you'd like to.
Oh, it's up to you.
Okay, here we go. All right. So now this is a framing the moment piece. The next day after the shooting, actually on the day of the shooting, we deployed an emergency operations center to manage the case that was going on. So it was that emergency operations group which sent out the local alerts, made the decisions about closing the campus, essentially did a lot of work related to the crisis on that day. So the day after the death, we had a debriefing where President Stokes joined us remotely from overseas. And on Monday, we brought together the president's leadership team, and that group decided to form a campus security working group to coordinate efforts and ensure a unified rapid response to what had happened. So what I have here on the slide for you is those folks that were included in this campus security working group. I'm happy to answer questions about who they are, but several folks that you should be able to recognize the names, a lot of administrators, but we also have some faculty in here who are focused on trying to address the safety concerns immediately after the shooting. So the charge to that group was pretty clear. One was to say, what are the security measures that we already have in place? So we understood current state, identify if there are any vulnerabilities, things that we should work on immediately. And remember, this is over the summer, it's before the semester started. And the president had asked us to really focus on what can we do right this second in order to make this, to address safety concerns following that shooting. We also looked into what safety and security activities had been going on in recent years. So we had an understanding. This wasn't the first time we said, let's try to make this campus safer. A lot has happened, and I'll talk about what some of those findings were. But then come up with a list of projects and sort them by urgency. What do we do before the semester starts? What do we do after the semester starts? What do we do over the longer term when we actually have some funding for some bigger pieces? Jeremy Hamlin of the Office of Planning and Budget, he is our budget director for UNM, produced a 5-year report of appropriations, allocations, and self-funded safety projects. And the President's Office also provided for us a listing of safety initiatives that were tied to UNM 2040. We had a pretty solid baseline of understanding of what we had accomplished over time, but there were still some gaps. So UNM hasn't been standing still. Over time, we have been putting money into improving design, landscaping for safety, and I can point out different spots on campus. I did at that meeting, but we're sensitive. I think I have about 15 minutes compared to the 30 I did that day. We installed new cameras, lighting, roof funds in the last 5-6 years. And in fact, I've since been told there are 6,000 cameras on the UNM campus. If you look at North, Central, and South, that were not there 5-6 years ago. We've added physical barriers in certain parts of campus. We've rolled out access control systems. Now we're in the process still, but buildings have been put on card keys. Started, of course, with the dormitories, but now we're starting to do other buildings on campus. Some have been paid for by departments, but in addition, we have been going after that. We reinvigorated the Campus Watch program. So we've been doing things to strengthen security. Now, since July 25th, we put together a list of things we needed to get done. And so, as I said, the president wanted to see some clear progress. So we formed the working group. We completed an EOC after action survey. So this is when you ask everyone who was there on the day what you could have done better. We've actually taken some actions related to that. Inside the dorms, we've launched an online guest registration. So we know theoretically who's in the dorms. If you have a guest, you have to register them. We have limited the residence hall entry points. So now every dorm, rather than having all these doors, has you can get out all the doors, but you can only get in 1 or 2, depending on which dormitory it is. We've piloted some nighttime traffic restrictions on Central Avenue. If you try to get in off Central about 10 o'clock at night, you won't be able to, because we've fenced off all those gates, and we're going to be putting in some permanent gates that can open and close, because it's actually a bit of a workload to open and close those gates between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. We strengthened the integration with Clery Act groups. So Clery Act is that act that requires us to report about safety on campus, provide metrics. They were quite involved as well as they should have been that day. So we have actually worked with the team to next time do a better job with that. And we also held a campus safety press conference because there was interest in us talking about the kinds of things that we had done. So we were trying to demonstrate responsiveness and act quickly as we could before the semester started, while we continue to work on some longer term efforts. So there are 29 efforts on this Campus Safety Works list. I actually have them if anyone wants to see them in copious detail. Each one has a responsible party identified, a list of people involved, a timeline, and the status. So at this point, 11 of the 29 have been completed, and there are 18 that remain active. They span different categories, both policy and infrastructure. So for example, the active initiatives in the policy area, we need to really clarify those guest rules and make sure we're enforcing them across both our campus housing, residence life, and student housing, RLSH, and ACC, the American Campus Communities dormitories. We have 2 different management groups for dormitories on the UNM campus. We need to update our policies on campus closure. There was a lot of confusion that day about, well, what does campus closure mean? You say it's closed. Do you mean North Campus? Do you mean South Campus? Do I work? Do I not work? So the policies are really, we've worked very hard on clarity for a snow day, but this, we didn't really have a model. So there's an actual committee working on updating that policy, as well as the minor, actually it's not one policy, it's several, the minors on campus policy, because we need clarity on that. The minors on campus policy was recently rewritten and approved, and it focuses on 2 kinds of minors. Minors who are involved in a campus activity like a summer camp, and minors that belong to faculty, staff, or students who are there. There was not any policy, any guidance for a minor who is a sibling of a student in a dorm who wasn't actually a UNM student. So we have to work on that. We also need to develop stronger victim support protocols. And this is something that not just from that evening, but for all kinds of incidents that we have on campus, make sure that it's not just the resident advisor in a dorm at 2 o'clock in the morning who has to provide victim support in tough circumstances. Over on the infrastructure and partnerships, this is a longer list of activities, but we are been focusing on expanding fencing, restricting roof access. I had no clue that you could just jump up on Mesa Vista Hall. It's easy. Hop up off the stairwell. And so we have a funding request in to fix that, but then we've also learned there's 3 or 4 other buildings and it's very easy to get up on the roof. Improving emergency communications and event tracking so that we know what's going on our campus and do a better job with how we communicate when an emergency takes place. Piloting license plate recognition technology. This is something we've been looking at UNM and actually have had some testing going on related to parking, so that some students actually don't get a little hang tag, their license plate triggers for their parking lot. But we haven't actually looked at it in terms of safety. So telling us when a car comes on campus that might be a stolen vehicle or something like that. Exploring AI, artificial intelligence-based gun and weapons detection. So if any of you saw the video from that night, you saw that there was actually a gun shown in a parking lot. And that should have immediately triggered attention to that parking lot, but we don't have the technologies in our many cameras to say, hey, there's a gun over in the A lot, go get it right now. So AI-based gun and weapon detection exists. We have a funding request in for that. Expanding collaboration with the city of Albuquerque for both ShotSpotter and the Real-Time Crime Center so that we are more integrated with the activities that go on there. ShotSpotter technology, there is some false information out that the ShotSpotter went off and we were alerted and no one did anything. The ShotSpotter did not detect the gunshots in the building that night. And, but if a gun is shot outside of a building, theoretically, we don't have a license right now to be informed. And so we have a funding request in for that. So these types of initiatives, and as I said, of the total of 29, we have 18 that remain active are ones that we think we can do more focused on activities that could make the situation that we experienced that night safer. So funding has been interesting. So we have, since the event, put in a request for $22 million of emergency funding to the state. This we have heard from both the higher education department and the governor's office, the executive, as we say, the funding is available for safety. So the things I just listed to you, we put in funding requests to pay for several of those things. $22 million that we hope to get. What we did discover is that over the last 5 years, we have requested $46 million worth of funding for safety and received $4.5 million in that time period. So we have been asking for funding. We haven't gotten all that we asked for, but we have gotten $4.5 million, and that has allowed us to invest in things like camera, lighting, access controls. And so we are grateful for that. We would love to see some larger amounts. Also, we learned that President Stokes has committed over the same 5 years, $13.8 million of one-time money and $2.2 million of recurring funding for things related to safety. So we have been self-funding the bulk of the safety initiatives that are already taking place on the UNM campus. The major projects with significant needs, I kind of mentioned them, I gave you that list, but here they are in another format. The alarm upgrades, the license plate reader. So alarm upgrades, 2.6 million. License plate reader, 85,000 a year. 911 system modernization. If you call 911 right this second, it will go to Albuquerque Police Department. If they realize you're in UNM, will forward it. That adds time. That's not safe. So in order to modernize the system, there is a cost. We're hoping to get that done through our new telephone system. So I don't have a price tag on that, but we know there's a cost. Piloting the AI-based gun, that's $300,000 one time, $36,000 a year recurring. ShotSpotter in partnership with APD would be $90,000 a year. expanding perimeter fencing and gates. So we have been working on gates up near the housing. You've seen the fences. The gates are supposed to be up. Temporary gates by today, September 30th. We should go out and see if those temporary gates are up. Permanent gates by December 31st. But to put more gates around the campus, we're estimating about $7.8 million. So these are multi-year expensive things, but we think that they're essential for future campus safety. So key takeaways. I want you to know that we truly acted as quickly as we could following July 25th to try to take action to make sure that we understood what we've done to make the campus safer, but also identify specific things to do. Some have been completed at this point. The progress is real. Projects have been completed. Some are underway and some are still waiting for funding. So there are definitely we need both state and internal support to continue things, but we do want everyone to be engaged in helping sustain momentum on these things because they are important. I did ask the cabinet these questions. I know you have some working groups or breakout groups. These might help inform that. How do we balance campus safety with campus openness? There's a real passion for having an open campus. So that's an important question. How do we strengthen student trust and confidence that this is a safe campus? Are there areas you think we should focus our resources? And is there something missing that I should have talked about? So that is my presentation. I think I did it quickly. Do you want me to take questions or you want to go to your?
Please.
Yes, sir.
Jurisdiction and campus police team, do they have any, like, jurisdiction outside the campus within radius?
They're licensed officers, so they can essentially be can do things beyond the campus. We tend to not go more than about 1 mile out from the campus, but they're sworn officers.
And what's the liability of doing it? A bunch of students are streaming across university to the house party. There's some incidents of a shooting or something.
I've always said that anybody could sue UNM for anything. I don't know that I could answer the actual question of what our liability is. We certainly work very closely with Albuquerque Police Department, so they communicate with us, we communicate with them. And our students are mobile, so they could have an event and have had events in Northeast, in the South Valley. So it's, I'm not exactly sure how to answer your question, to be honest, but I'm sure that there is some liability.
Yeah,
Yes,
one back there. And one.
Okay.
So, from your talk, I gathered that minors that are in some kind of recruitment or summer camp or are with a family member are allowed inside of campus buildings. Is that okay?
Yeah.
But then just the campus in general, I mean, that can't obviously cover every skateboarder that's coming.
Yeah, that's a very good point. So one of the recommendations, in fact, I know that that folks have been writing proposals for the change in policy to make it clear, what do we do if we come across a minor who is not involved or with their parent for an activity? And so that is being figured out right now. So who do you call? Do you call the police and police come and call the parent so that it's clear? The UNM Police Department is not fond of being an enforcement group for policies. They view themselves as enforcers of laws, but at the same time, they work to keep our campus safe, just like the rest of us. So that's being figured out. Not exactly.
Could you share with us the priority location for fencing that's being installed?
Around the dorms. That's the number one priority right now. Number two, along Central. So there have been so if you think about the dorms, just putting a big fence around the dorms actually kind of is not sufficient. Some of them are like hotels with multiple doors and, how do we make it so that you can know who's coming in and out? So we might there's proposals for putting smaller fencing around inside dormitories so that there's one clear entrance. That's all being looked at right now. Yes, ma'am.
So I was looking at the group of people that got assembled to work on this, and I must confess, I'm from North Campus, and I only recognize 2 North Campus names, one of whom is now retired. So I was wondering if you could tell me who the North Campus people are.
I didn't put the list here.
It was on your slide, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go grab the slides from my.
I'm sorry.
I didn't have a copy right there.
I know Brian Keough.
Oh,
He's one of them.
Yes, and Byron Pyatt is actually
Yeah, sorry.
the crisis management and emergency preparedness director. So he serves both. I mean, he serves the entire university, not just North Campus. So Teresa, Barbara Rodriguez, Shelley McLaughlin, who is not retired, but from health. Rebecca Napier, who is the chief senior vice president for finance at Health Sciences. Fern Lovo and Amy Biggin are both from athletics. Terry Babbitt. So Cinnamon Blair is retired now. She did have oversight over health sciences. So we have put in Ben Cloutier, Dwayne Rudy, IT, Joe Silva, UNMPD for all of the university, and Jeff McDonald for all the university. Shauna Wolf with ISS, Institutional Support Services, Russell Thompson, the head of financial, or I always say financial when I should say facilities. It's probably mine. Russell Thompson is the head of facilities management. Rosa Dudley is the campus planner. Mike Pulley, government relations for the entire university. Byron, we talked about. Adrienne Helms, she is our Clery coordinator. Ari Vasquez, who is part of the Office of University Council. Cindy Mason-Kuhn is the policy officer. Victor Riego, who is internal audit for the entire university. And Megan Shabanka from housing.
Yeah, I guess I was just curious if there were any actual physicians, like who work in the emergency room. Like somebody who's actually in the trenches, not somebody who is in an administrative office separated from where the action.
So that's an excellent question. So Byron did work for the emergency department for years.
Okay.
And Shelley McLaughlin is our physician, academic affairs. I mean, she does do a lot of different things. So if we looked at the 30 projects related to the shooting, there aren't items in there related to the emergency room. It really is about focused on the kinds of things that.
Well, I mean, not just the emergency room, but a lot of things happen in the parking structure on North Campus or people wandering in clinics. You know, I mean, there are sort of.
So for example, what was really important to me is having somebody that I could say, you're accountable. And then each project has a list of people you have to work with. So Felix Funes would be the campus security person for the North Campus who is involved in activities. But I like to have one person I hold accountable.
I would say of those list of people, Byron was an ER nurse for you.
Okay.
Highly qualified. Shelley was EMT and the head of the EMT program. So highly qualified. Next to the police and probably the people that do the Clery reports, those are the people that are probably most knowledgeable about stuff like that.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about the emergency alert system. Is that also something that's being reviewed, revised? Because there was a situation where I had a TA to do at night and there was a shelter in place in the Science and Math Learning Center, but there was no emergency alert. So we were very confused, like how could we get more information? They were just told to stay until the police came back. I was just looking for better guidance to get to my TAs, like what do I do for them that when they're teaching at night and they experience this, they were expecting that there would be more like an alert given out with new information, you know, through the campus-wide system, and there wasn't.
Okay, so yes, that kind of thing we need to do a better job on. Day of the shooting, we had messages coming from several different email addresses, and some of their headings were the wrong headings. So run, fight, hide should never have been used, but that was a default on a template. So we know those kinds of things happen that day and have been focusing on it. What you have raised is an issue of why isn't a Lobo alert going out if I'm being told to shelter in place?
Yeah.
So I have to find out more about that specific incident. The Lobo alerts go out in certain circumstances So we have to actually know that there is somebody who is actually causing risk to the community. So for example, if you just called up right now and said, hey, there's a machete in logo AB. We're not gonna logo alert out that there's a machete in AB until the police come and identify that there's a machete in AB. Because we get a lot of calls about, I saw a gun. And it turns out to not be. So there's a verification step that happens before that goes to everybody in the community. My suspicion on this one is that. But we're not always perfect.
All right, I have one more thing and then I'll shut up.
Okay.
The one thing it's probably more a request than anything. There is a template for the emergency preparedness for all the buildings that includes the evacuation plan. Down in that template that comes from the university, it says, talking about violence and acts of violence, these things only escalate if you allow them to. That needs to be deleted immediately. And I'm sorry, it's immoral, it's unjust, it's wrong, it's insensitive. I don't know who ever thought that that was a good thing to put in the policy, because let me tell you, those kids shot in the Catholic school in Minneapolis, they didn't do anything. It was not their fault. The kids shot at one of the universities a few weeks ago, not their fault. When one of our staff members was assaulted a few months ago, it wasn't his fault. The person was seriously mentally ill, had been banned from multiple places on campus for being threatening. It wasn't his fault. So I don't know how that, and it's in bold. It's in bold letters. So it really should come out.
I will take care of that one. That comes from emergency, the EHS, Emergency Help Safety Group. And so I will follow up with that.
We have one, but we also have one on.
Okay. All right. I'll let you, who do you want next? Yes.
Are the Greek housing part of this?
That is a really good question. Barbara, do you know? I don't know the answer. We should find that out. They are not considered on campus, but increasingly as we have a whole strategy for that area.
But they have UNM students.
Yes, they should do. So let me find out more about Greek housing.
All right, there's 2 questions online, so we should take something from that.
Yes.
You guys can unmute yourselves. Luis?
Yes.
Go ahead.
No, I'm good. I don't have any questions.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Thank you. All right. Is there another hand up or
Okay.
anything?
I
Nancy?
think that was good.
Okay, we have 2 in here. Yes.
I really appreciate that you brought up the tension between the safety issues, but also being an open campus, because we are in a city. And I think that we don't want to be that kind of space that fills out the rest of the city, right? The other tension that I didn't mention is the tension between over surveillance and anxiety. Like, we know that when students, especially our students who have been over surveilled, like the over surveillance of young people right now is extreme because of social media and the anxiety that produces. Are we going to be creating more anxiety for them and for us by having that kind of over surveillance? Like the idea that there will be more cameras looking at people, that there's AI that can read my car plate, right? Like, are we punishing everybody for acting of some? And like, where is our balance of those tensions? Because I don't see that being discussed anywhere. And we're saying we want our students to feel safe, but are they going to feel safe if they feel that everybody's watching them constantly? Which is what extra cameras will do, what this AI will also do. Like AI will say there's a gun when there isn't a gun. About that person feeling.
Yeah. And where absolutely hear this, and I love input on that. As we think about narrowing the dorm access to one door and having an interior camera, there are rules about cameras inside buildings, in dormitories. And we, do you want that kind of oversight? I had an interesting thing happen, actually. We had some crime in what we call business center. It's the corner of Lomas and University. And the folks were feeling very unsafe because people would come in a lot and there was crime and fires and all kinds of stuff. So we have now got card keys, and if you want to go there and talk to payroll, you card key in. And I now know who comes in every day and who does not. I just have all the data now. And so how do I use that? That was not why we put the card keys in, but we suddenly have information that we have to think about how we use it.
But should we use it?
Or if we use it. Yeah. As a question. So it is definitely worth considering as we're busily putting in all this technology.
So sort of related to that point, when all the car key, key card access stuff means that, yes, I guess we're maybe successfully keeping bad people out, but we're also keeping our own students out of buildings. Like I have undergraduates from main campus who can't access the building I'm in health sciences. And sometimes we teach courses in that building. And so we have this ridiculous having to send the couple of students that happen to have a health sciences badge to let the other people in because the other people can get in. And as Dr. Levin has pointed out, if there's a shelter in place and you have students that can't actually access parts of the buildings that you would want to shelter in. I mean, we're keeping our own students out.
So that's a current active concern we have right now, is particularly affecting the School of Nursing, but other North Campus where we're not one university. So we have two different card keys. I just went and got my health sciences one so that I can get through the door to get in the back of the hospital. So we are working towards trying to have one uniform system because all the students should be able to get into the buildings where they're taking classes. And at first, even in the nursing, we couldn't even have students in. We figured out how to get the health sciences nursing students in, but we still have a problem. Technology is not perfect, of course, but we're working on it. Okay. Yes, Chris.
So I'm just hearing from a lot of people. You have a great list of people who are participating, and I appreciate you leading this effort. And I know you addressed this somewhat when John asked his question, I think, about student involvement, but I think what Natalie's question points to is really centering sort of quote user design, because a lot of the people on that list aren't necessarily the ones that are going to be occupying the spaces, like the dorms, the buildings, the classrooms. So I guess I'm just hearing that perhaps we would benefit from more faculty staff involvement.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I'll give you an example. Oh, we've secured down your dorm, so you can go in this door, you go out that all doors, you're safer. But I'm visually impaired. And you've now had me go through a place where I'm going to trip. Or I can't there's no elevator. You've had me go in a door where there's no elevator. I can't get up to my room. So we are trying to do good things. And these are examples of how we have to do them better. They should be customer centric. The other thing I learned through all this is that we have a lot of staircases on this campus, beautiful staircases. You're walking along and down it goes. And if you are visually impaired, down you go, because we don't have the proper kind of markings on the ground to say there is a step down. We have some work to do. Yes, sir.
As far as the doors that are open to go out and not in dormitories, I have to admit that being an undergraduate once, millions of years ago, that it's easy to sneak in a sweetheart dorm back door, unless there's like a security camera. So I just wanted to.
That is very
Well,
true.
yeah.
And I'm also hearing, since we're all going in one door, we're holding the door for everybody else. Or before it was done in 10 doors, we didn't hold the doors. So it's like, we're trying to figure out the good things to do to keep it safe.
My say the students should deal with this immensely hard. This is.
That's very. And you want them to code in and on their app. Okay, my sweetheart's in here.
Okay, we have a question from online.
Yes.
So, have folks communicated with CNM about campus safety measures? Considering it's only a few blocks away, I'm wondering if they are experiencing non-open campus solutions. Exploring. Sorry.
And that's a grand question. So yes, and fundamentally, we have been in communication with CNM, and so we work closely with them and also on emergency activities. And the day of the event, we were in communication with them. But that specific question, have we communicated on non-open campus?
Are you exploring?
So what kinds of things a non-open campus how it might impact CNM students that are here?
Yes.
So the student that was, whose room it was where the shooting took place was a CNM student who was involved in a program that allowed them to live on our dorms. So this kind of thing we have been in communication with. And we certainly work with them on emergency activities and safety. In fact, when there was a terrible shooting that was not UNM related, but it was down by the isotopes. And so we had a gathering of all the people affected, including CNM, for that. But there's always more opportunities, I think.
And the clarification was because of the transfer between CNM and students.
So I will take that, as I've taken many notes on different things, including Greeks, and we'll take that back. It's something we should talk about. And surveillance, I think that's an important one for us to think about. And I really look to faculty to help me with that kind of thing. Because for me, as an operations person, I'm more likely to say, put up the gate and we'll be happy. And it's not necessarily the right thing. So I can invest in that. Yes, sir.
Is there currently just one entrance to the hospital there? Which is in the front of the hospital facing? Yeah.
No.
Okay. So that policy has been changed.
So
I thought that the back doors were not accessible unless you had.
So if you imagine yourself over at the Health Sciences Library and Informatics Center, and you're walking across the plaza and Foods Hall is on your right, there's a doorway to the hospital there. That you can have that card key that you're wearing.
Right.
Why?
But people without.
People without that can't get in.
One access.
No, they would have to go downstairs, walk around the entrance and go in the back door.
Or they could go in the loading dock door, which is always open.
So there's another door, you just have to go down the stairs and around.
I asked because I'm shepherding a lot of people through the hospital get lost because there's.
So the hospital, interestingly, they are coming up with now a new app.
Yeah.
I am here, I need to find the cafeteria and I'll walk you through. So they're rolling that guy out.
That's
But
helpful.
that door that you can't get through by Fitz Hall in the research center, that one you can get through, but the rest of us can't. We go downstairs and can get in right there. Question in the back?
You can get in that.
Yeah, why?
There's a button to push to get in? How interesting. I haven't tried that. I just go down the stairs. Okay. Other questions? I mean, actually, we've used up all your time, but this has been great.
That's okay. Anybody else? All right.
All right.
I want to thank you very much.
Thanks for having
A very
me.
good presentation, and I know you did shorten it for us, so thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
And thank you for taking all of our questions. So we're basically at the end of time, and the only thing was to discuss if those breakout groups are okay with you all. I would suggest that if you have comments about them, just shoot me an email and we can add them to next month's agenda. I hate to keep people over on a meeting because I know you have things to do and it is 5:00. So I assume nobody wants to oppose a motion to adjourn, right? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.